Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Koala English Podcast, where we help you learn real English for real life, the English people actually use every day. I'm Charlotte, and today we're going to explore a word you probably use all the time, but maybe don't fully understand yet. That word is shout. Now, when you hear the word shout, what's the first thing you think of? Most people immediately think, speaking very loudly. And yes, that is absolutely correct. But here's the fun part. Shout has a secret life in English. It can mean being loud, but it can also mean buying someone a coffee, making a strong impression, or even calling someone later. So today, we're going to break it all down. Clearly, simply, and with lots of real-life examples. Let's get started. It's funny how some of the simplest words we use every single day can have these secret lives. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on one you probably use all the time, the word shout. So let me just ask you this straight up. When you hear the word shout, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Just follow me, right? But is it always about being loud? Well, as you're about to find out, there's way more to it than you think. So, first things first. Let's start on common ground with a classic definition of shout. You know, the one we all learned as kids at its most basic to shout is, well, it's exactly what you think it is. It's to say something very, very loud. It's what we do to be heard across a room over a bunch of noise or, just to really make a point simple enough, right? But here's where it gets really fascinating. That one single action, raising your voice, can mean two totally opposite things. On one side, you've got raw anger and frustration, but on the complete other side, you have absolute joy and excitement. It's like a megaphone for our biggest emotions. Here's a perfect example. I mean, you can just picture this, can't you? This is that shout that comes from a place of frustration where the whole goal is just to get control of the situation. It's a shout. That means business. Then you have the complete opposite. This is the shout of pure victory, right? That moment you're so overcome with happiness that a big, loud sound is the only thing that feels right. Same action, completely different vibe. It really proves that context is absolutely everything. Alright, so you've totally got the basics down. But what if I told you there are other ways to use shout that have literally nothing to do with being loud? This is where the English language gets really fun and a little bit weird. Next, I want to show you great ways this word works in real life. Part 1. The basic meaning of shout, speaking very loudly. Let's start with the meaning everyone knows. To shout means to say something very loudly. We shout when There is a lot of noise. Someone is far away. We feel strong emotions. Here are some common situations. Anger or frustration. The teacher shouted to quieten the class. He shouted because nobody was listening. Warning. She shouted to warn the child about the car. I shouted, "Watch out!" Happiness or excitement, I shouted when my team scored the winning goal. Everyone shouted with joy. So already we can see something important. Pie shouting isn't always negative. The same action, raising your voice, can express anger, fear, excitement, joy. Vocabulary to remember here. To shout means to speak very loudly, often because there is noise, distance, or strong emotion. For example, she shouted to be heard across the room. To yell has a similar meaning to shout and is very common in American English. For example, he yelled because the music was too loud. To scream means to make a very loud, strong sound, usually because of fear, pain, or extreme excitement. For example, the child screamed when she saw the spider. Cultural tip. In English-speaking cultures, shouting at people directly can feel rude or aggressive unless the situation clearly explains it, like sports, emergencies, or celebrations. Part 2. Shout, meaning to pay for someone. Now let's move to a meaning that surprises many learners. In Australian English and British English, to shout can mean to pay for someone else's food or drink. For example, I'll shout you a coffee. She shouted, "Lunch today after the game." I shouted, "My mate's a drink." No yelling involved at all. This is a friendly, informal expression. It shows generosity and kindness. Useful phrases: I'll shout you. It's my shout. Let me shout this one. Situations where this is common: friends meeting for coffee, after work drinks, celebrations, casual social settings. Important cultural tip. This usage is very common in Australia. In the US, people will understand it, but it sounds more Australian or British. In American English, people usually say, "It's on me." Oh, get this. So if you're in Australia and you say, "I'll shout you a coffee," you'll sound very natural. Part 3. Shout, meaning making a strong impression. Now, here's a really interesting one. Sometimes shout doesn't involve sound at all. Example, her outfit really shouts confidence. That design shouts luxury. The headline shouts urgency. Obviously, clothes and designs can't speak. So what does this mean? It means something communicates very strongly. The message is impossible to miss. Useful vocabulary. When something shouts confidence, it looks very confident and makes that feeling easy to notice. For example, her posture and clothing shout confidence the moment she walks into the room. When something shouts success, it clearly shows achievement or high quality. For example, his new office and calm attitude shout success. When something shouts danger, it clearly looks risky or unsafe, even without words. For example, the dark clouds and strong winds shout danger. Cultural tip: English speakers love using sound words to describe visual ideas. It makes the language more vivid and expressive. Part 4. Give me a shout, contacting someone. Now let's talk about one of the most common everyday uses. Give me a shout means contact me later, call, text, message, anyway. Examples: give me a shout when you're free. I'll give you a shout later. Give me a shout if you need help. This is informal, friendly, very common in spoken English. Situations where this works perfectly: making plans, ending a conversation, talking to friends or colleagues. Cultural tip: this is not formal English. Don't use it in professional emails. Instead, say, please contact me. Let me know. Part 5. Shout out. Public thanks or greetings. Now let's add one more phrase to your vocabulary. A shout-out is a public mention, greeting, or thank you. You might hear, a shout-out to everyone listening today. Big shout-out to our listeners in Sydney. The DJ gave her a shout-out on the radio. This is very common on radio, on podcasts, on social media. It's friendly, positive, and encouraging. Part 6. Common mistakes to avoid. Let's quickly talk about some mistakes learners often make when using the word shout. One common mistake is adding extra words when talking about paying for something. For example, some learners say, I shout you loudly a coffee, but this is not correct. The natural way to say it is, I'll shout you a coffee. When shout means paying, it never needs words like loudly. Another mistake is using the verb shout when talking about contacting someone. Learners sometimes say I shouted to him a call, but English speakers don't use it this way. Instead, we say, I gave him a shout, which simply means making contact by phone or message. A final mistake is using shout in formal writing. While this word is very common in everyday spoken English, it sounds too casual for formal emails or professional messages. In those situations, it's better to use phrases like, please contact me, or let me know. Part 7. Quick practice. Think with me. Let's do a quick mental practice. I shouted when my team won. Loud or not loud? Answer is loud. Can I shout you lunch today? Loud or not loud? Answer is not loud. That logo shouts confidence, sound or impression. Answer is impression. See? Context makes everything clear. Part 8. Final takeaway. Here's what I want you to remember today. Context is everything. Shout can mean speak loudly, pay for someone, make a strong impression, contact someone. These meanings are very common in real-life English, especially in Australia. So next time a friend says, "I'll shout you," relax. They're being kind, not noisy. And if you want to sound more natural, confident, and fluent in English, start noticing these small, everyday words because they carry a lot of meaning. Thanks so much for listening to the Koala English Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a shout sometime, and I'll talk to you again very soon.